it makes a lot of sense, and I wanna follow up this, with a little bit of a, of a question, of course, that goes into this entirety of this. So, how important do you then think it would be to continue teaching clay modeling as well? Because what you've of course just mentioned is that to build up this kind of emotion, you could say, I can model it in 3D and I can even 3D print it, but the question is, how much can I then change it on the 3D printed model? Having it actually in my hands, feeling what I'm changing, what I'm doing. Isn't it then the case that you would have to say, like, the 3D modeling on a computer is an addition, but obviously the clay modeling and the understanding of what it really looks like physically and how it feels like will always be an important factor for a student, or in general, kind of any designer that works in this vehicle industry, to always understand, because that's how you get the emotion.
Right, right. Well, you know, uh, we get pretty quickly into science fiction. I just started thinking of that scene in Minority Report where Tom Cruise goes into the arcade and all these people are in these booths having these virtual experiences and things like that. The reason I thought of that is because, you know, until everything is virtual, we're still living in a physical world. And as long as the physicality of our surroundings and our bodies is there, then at least at the freshman and sophomore level, understanding of sculptural form through the act of touching and feeling and making it is going to be critical to the sensibilities that are brought to the technologies once those are introduced. So, if we take our brains out and put them in a box and everything is completely, virtual, then maybe we won't need clay modeling anymore. The Star Trek episode in there, I think.
No, I just find it important because there's this very massive debate going on, of course, of how much physical modeling do we need? Can we not just do more and more in 3D, the VR kind of presentations and all these things? But in the end, like, the decisions, or I would say the vast majority of these decisions are being made because you see a physical model in front of you,
Hmm.
and um, as long as this emotional factor is in it, so that it really, there is an importance on the aesthetics and on the design as a whole, and the form and the function, of course, as well. You will need to have this understanding of the physical model as well. There will always be exception to that kind of case. I think, there's some guys out there that can really think in 3D as well, which is a very rare case. But as long as you don't have that, and you always have to understand, like, who you're presenting to or who you're selling your design to, a lot of these guys cannot think in 3D. They need to see something in front of them. And so if we take this away from the designer and then present it to somebody who doesn't understand anything on this kind of, virtual phase, well, then we have a problem, because then we add a communication issue, I think, on
Hmm.
top of that as well.
That's right. Well, and the other fact is a car is a new product. Let's say from a clean sheet of paper, what is it, about $5 billion of investment, maybe more now. If it's an entirely new car, nobody's going to make those kinds of risky decisions without a thorough prototyping process. And so, like I said, it's going to be physical in the end, and at some point, you got to go physical. I think, while designers in the studio may not do as many clay models, I think the at some point they're going to go into clay, and it may just be that cycle of create a creating a mesh, milling it, adjusting it, scanning it, going back to the data, refining the data, remilling it. It might be that, or it might be something more artistic and traditional along the lines of, um, actually sculpting a handcrafted clay surface. Um, but I don't think the clay modeling aspect is going to go away anytime soon. Um, and it's really, again, it's case by case. Like some companies, they do not want us to get rid of clay modeling. That on the other hand, what is the point of milling a hard model when the student is faced with hours and hours of sanding? There's it's but what those hours and hours of sanding do is they drive a student's attention to detail and the extent to which they care about their craft. And whether it's the prototype or the initial theme model, or whether it's the final product on the road that somebody's going to lay down money to use or buy, um, the expression, or let's say that product is that artifact is a record of the designer's state of mind, their ability to collaborate, their ability to answer the problems that they're being faced with, and their ability to care about that end user, the extent to which they really do care. You can tell when a product is the result of a bunch of people that didn't work well together, or a product of people who really did work well together.
Well said.